Keep this prayer playing while you sleep, beloved. I want you to understand a mystery that has been hidden in plain sight. The greatest prayer you can ever offer is not the one you speak with trembling lips during the noise of the day, but the one that seeps deep into your spirit as you lie down to rest at night. Sleep is not an escape from life. It is the sacred passageway into creation. While the world believes the day is the time of action and the night is the time of rest, the truth is reversed. What you impress upon your mind in the silence of night becomes the seed that produces the harvest of your day. This is why I tell you, do not go to sleep worrying, do not lay your head upon the pillow rehearsing lack, fear, or disappointment, for the subconscious never slumbers. It is always awake, always listening, always shaping your reality according to the impressions you give it. When you keep a prayer playing as you sleep, it is not the mere sound that matters, but the vibration it stirs within your soul. The words echo into your spirit and call forth the end that you desire to live. To keep prayer playing is to remind the deeper self of the truth you want to embody. Allow the feeling of your answered prayer to flood your consciousness until it becomes the atmosphere of your dream world. And when that feeling is secured in the realm of sleep, no power in the waking world can deny it manifestation. Tonight, I want you to enter your rest not with anxiety, but with assurance, not with questions, but with answers already lived within. Keep this prayer playing, and it shall not only lull you into peace, but awaken you into power. Prayer as inner assumption prayer, as the world has often misunderstood it, is not the desperate pleading of a soul begging a distant God to notice its needs, nor is it the constant repetition of words meant to wear down the heavens until mercy is granted. Prayer is something far deeper, far more intimate, and far more powerful than that. True prayer is assumption, the quiet yet unshakable acceptance that what you have desired is already yours, that the thing you long for has already been fulfilled in the invisible, and all that remains is its unveiling in the visible. When you close your eyes at night and allow sleep to take hold of you, you are not stepping into darkness, but into creation, for sleep is the gateway where the conscious yields and the subconscious rises. It is here that the power of prayer becomes its most effective, not as a struggle but as a surrender, not as asking but as being. The mind cannot argue in this state, it only receives. The question is, what will you let it receive? Many go to bed rehearsing their failures, replaying their fears, and assuming that tomorrow will be no different than today. And because they assume lack, they continue to live in lack. But the one who understands prayer knows that assumption is the only bridge between desire and manifestation. Assume is to claim without doubt, to stand in the invisible reality of your fulfilled wish as though it were the air you breathe. As you lay down at night, do not drift off with idle thoughts. Instead, clothe yourself in the garment of your answered prayer. If you are seeking healing, do not pray as though you are sick hoping to be well. Assume the state of wholeness. Feel what it is like to already walk in health, to breathe with ease, to live with strength. If you desire abundance, do not go to sleep rehearsing the debts you owe, the bills yet unpaid, the burdens that weigh you down. Assume the state of freedom. Feel the relief of being debt-free, the joy of abundance already flowing through your life. This is not a game of imagination, but the true act of faith, for faith is the substance of things hoped for, the evidence of things not seen. Faith is assumption. When you sleep, and the feeling of the wish fulfilled, you plant that seed into the fertile ground of the subconscious, and just as surely as a seed buried in soil must rise in time, so too must the assumption planted in your spirit bear fruit in your waking world. Consider this: when a child pretends, he is not begging for his imagination to be real. When he holds a stick and says it is a sword, he swings it with full belief. When she wears a crown of paper and declares herself queen, she walks as royalty. The child does not try to make it real, she assumes it. In the same way, you are called to pray not as one trying to convince, but as one assuming. Prayer is not future tense, it is always present. It is not I will be, but I am. And as you hold that assumption and let it sink into the depths of your being, your outer life rearranges itself to reflect your inner truth. This is why keeping prayer playing while you sleep is so vital. The repetition of sacred words, scriptures, or affirmations is not for the outer ear alone, but for the inner ear of the subconscious. It is to guide the imagination, to stabilize the mind in a state of assumption. When you keep the prayer of health, abundance, peace, or love playing as you drift into unconsciousness. You anchor your spirit in the reality you choose to live. You are not begging God, you are aligning with him. You are not pleading for change, you are embodying it. And in that embodiment, the unseen moves and the seen must follow. Some may ask, but what if I do not feel it strongly? What if I struggle to believe? The answer is not to fight, not to strain, but to persist gently. Feel even the smallest spark of the desire fulfilled and allow it to grow. Like a faint melody in the night, let it lull you into sleep. You do not need to force belief, you only need to rest in it. Faith is not effort, faith is rest, and sleep is the perfect picture of rest. As the body yields, so should the mind yield to assumption. Say within yourself, it is done, it is mine. I am already there. And then sleep. The subconscious will carry it the rest of the way. Remember this, you are always praying, whether you realize it or not. Every thought you rehearse, every image you dwell on, every feeling you sink into, these are all prayers. Prayer is not a moment. It is a state of being. If you go to bed anxious, fearful, and doubting, that is your prayer. If you go to bed with gratitude, confidence, and assumption of fulfillment, that is your prayer, and life, like a faithful mirror, reflects it back to you. So keep the right prayer playing, both in sound and in spirit. Guard the gates of sleep and feed your subconscious only what you want to multiply. To pray in assumption is to live in the end, to let the conclusion of your desire be your starting point. If you want love, sleep in the joy of already being loved. If you want success, sleep in the thrill of already succeeding. If you want peace, sleep in the calm of already resting in it. Do not wait for evidence to feel it, and evidence will come. The world tells you seeing is believing, but the truth is believing is seeing. The unseen is the cause, the seen is the effect. Prayer and assumption means you take hold of the cause and let the effect follow in its season. Tonight, when you prepare to sleep, do not ask with lips alone. Assume with your heart. If you must use words, let them be words of completion, not lack. Say, I am whole. I am provided for. I am loved. I am free. And as you repeat these words, let your imagination furnish them with feeling. See yourself whole, feel yourself provided for, embrace yourself as loved, walk as free. Let that be the prayer that carries you across the threshold of sleep. For the prayer of assumption never returns void. It always accomplishes what it has been sent to do. Beloved, understand this. God dwells not in your begging, but in your believing. He responds not to fear, but to faith, and faith is assumption. The quiet certainty that what you desire is already here, already done, already yours. When you keep this prayer playing while you sleep, you are clothing your subconscious in faith, bathing your spirit in assumption, and anchoring your reality in the unseen truth that must manifest. Trust the process, rest in it, sleep in it, and when you awaken, you will find your world reshaped, your path renewed, and your desires fulfilled. For prayer is not what you do, it is who you are when you believe. The subconscious never sleeps when you lay your head upon the pillow at night and your eyes close to the outer world. You may believe that the day has ended and all activity has ceased, but nothing could be further from the truth. Your conscious mind rests, your body surrenders to stillness, but the subconscious, the deeper self, the eternal listener, never sleeps. It is always awake, always active, always shaping, always molding, always responding to the impressions you give it. This truth is the reason why so much of life feels as though it is happening automatically, for in reality it is. The subconscious governs the involuntary actions of your body, the beat of your heart, the rhythm of your breath, the healing of your wounds, the circulation of your blood, all without your conscious interference. And just as it governs your body, it also governs the circumstances of your life, drawing to you what corresponds with the impressions it has received. The waking mind is but the doorkeeper. It chooses what will be allowed to enter, but once an idea, an image, or a feeling slips past into the subconscious, it takes root and grows, whether for good or for ill. Thus, when you fall asleep at night, the question is not whether the subconscious is working, but what it is working on. If you go to sleep rehearsing fears, dwelling on lack, or replaying conflicts, the subconscious takes these impressions as commands. It does not reason, it does not argue, it does not judge whether something is good or bad, true or false. It only accepts and multiplies. The subconscious is like the fertile earth. Whatever seed you place within it, it will nourish and bring forth in your outer world. Plant thorns, and you will reap thorns. Plant roses, and you will reap roses. The law cannot be broken, and because the subconscious never sleeps, it never ceases its work of bringing to birth the seeds you have given it. This is why it is so dangerous to fall asleep in worry, resentment, or despair, for while you sleep, the subconscious continues weaving the fabric of your reality, using the thread of the last thoughts you entertained. But herein lies your power. Just as it works tirelessly on the seeds of fear, it works tirelessly on the seeds of faith. Just as it multiplies doubt, it multiplies belief. Just as it accepts sorrow, it accepts joy. And because it never sleeps, you can set it to work on your behalf by impressing upon it the right images, the right feelings, the right assumptions before you enter the realm of slumber. This is why it is wise to keep a prayer, an affirmation, or a scripture playing as you sleep, not because the sound itself has magic, but because it continuously supplies the subconscious with the vibrations of truth and faith. The subconscious does not turn off when you do. It receives in silence, it accepts without resistance, it carries forward without ceasing. What you hear in those drifting moments before sleep, and what continues to echo through your night, becomes the raw material of your tomorrow. Think of it this way: the subconscious is like a faithful servant who never leaves your side. It does not question your authority. It does not rebel against your commands. Whatever you impress upon it, it obeys with perfect loyalty. If you tell it through your feelings, words, and images that you are poor, unloved, or weak, it will use its limitless resources to fulfill that command. If you tell it you are prosperous, loved, and strong, it will equally fulfill that command. It has no bias, no preference, it only reflects. But because it never sleeps, it never pauses in this work of reflection. The subconscious is always building, always attracting, always shaping, whether you are aware of it or not. And so the wise will guard the doorway of sleep as the holiest of gateways, for once you pass through, your conscious guard is down, and the subconscious takes complete control. Let us imagine a person who, every night before sleep, repeats quietly, "I am loved, I am blessed, I am whole." At first it may feel strange, perhaps even unbelievable, but the subconscious does not require you to feel it fully at the start. It only requires persistence. Night after night, as those words are spoken and heard, as those images are rehearsed, the subconscious absorbs them without question. In time, the person begins to feel loved, begins to notice blessings, begins to walk in wholeness. What began as a simple repetition before sleep becomes the very fabric of their waking life. Why? Because the subconscious never sleeps. It was working on the command all along, weaving it into the tapestry of reality, until it could not be denied. On the other hand, consider the one who falls asleep each night worrying about unpaid bills, whispering to themselves, "I don't know how I'll make it," or replaying the arguments of the day. The subconscious, with its unceasing loyalty, takes this as a command and sets to work. It amplifies the lack, it multiplies the conflict, it manifests the struggle, not because it wishes to harm, but because it cannot resist the seed that was planted. This is why so many wake up in heaviness, feeling as though nothing changes, for they have unknowingly sent the wrong commands into the deepest part of themselves. They have forgotten that the subconscious never sleeps, and so they feed it poison instead of medicine, weeds instead of fruit. Beloved, the truth is that your subconscious is the womb of creation, and sleep is the sacred chamber where the seed is planted. What you give it before you close your eyes will be nurtured throughout the night without pause. You may rest, but it does not. You may dream, but it is working. You may forget, but it remembers. Therefore, be intentional with what you allow to sink in. Do not drift into unconsciousness with the debris of the day clinging to your mind. Wash yourself with prayer, saturate yourself with thanksgiving, wrap yourself in the feeling of your answered desire. Let the last thing you feel be peace, and that peace will multiply. Let the last thing you hear be truth, and that truth will unfold. Let the last thing you see in imagination be your fulfilled desire, and that desire will surely manifest. Never think your subconscious is neutral ground. It is always receiving, always forming. The idle thought, the casual worry, the fleeting image, all are seeds, and all will grow. But one who knows this truth has no need to fear, for just as easily as weeds can be planted, so can flowers. Just as easily as lack can be impressed, so can abundance. Just as easily as fear can be received, so can faith. The law is impartial, and therefore the choice is always yours. What will you Give your subconscious tonight. What command will you send it to fulfill while you rest? Understand, too, that dreams themselves are not random. They are the echoes of what has been impressed upon the subconscious. If your nights are filled with turmoil, it is a sign of the seeds you are planting. If your nights are filled with visions of hope and beauty, it is likewise a reflection of your impressions. Guard your dreams by guarding your prayers. Keep the right prayer playing, and your subconscious will echo it back to you in images, feelings, and eventually reality. So I tell you again, the subconscious never sleeps. It is the silent worker, the unseen builder, the tireless creator. It is more faithful than the rising sun, more constant than the flowing river, more unyielding than the turning of the seasons. It takes what you give it and shapes your world accordingly. Do not be careless with such power. Do not feed it the fragments of fear, the poison of doubt, the weight of regret. Instead, give it the food of faith, the strength of love, the richness of gratitude. As you keep prayer playing while you sleep, you are not merely soothing your conscious mind. You are feeding the eternal worker within. You are giving it the tools to build the life you desire. And when you awaken, you will step into a world already prepared by the labor of the subconscious, already molded by the seeds you planted in the silence of night. This is the mystery and the majesty. While you rest, creation continues. While you dream, manifestation stirs. While you sleep, the subconscious never does. Therefore, guard your nights as carefully as you guard your days, and you will find that your mornings bloom with the fragrance of answered prayer. Living in the end while sleeping. Live in the end is the highest form of prayer, the secret key to manifestation, and the true act of faith. It means you no longer look to the outer world to tell you what is possible, nor do you beg the future to someday deliver your desire. To live in the end is to embrace the truth that the wish is already fulfilled, that the prayer is already answered, that the reality you long for is already here, unseen but as real as the air you breathe. And when you understand this truth, you realize that the most powerful time to practice it is not in the busy noise of the day, but in the quiet stillness of the night, when the body surrenders to sleep and the subconscious, the silent builder of your destiny, becomes most impressionable. The end you choose to live in as you fall asleep becomes the mold into which your life is poured. If you drift into unconsciousness, rehearsing the joy of answered prayer, you set the stage for the subconscious to weave that joy into the very fabric of your waking world. To keep a prayer playing while you sleep is to anchor yourself in the end, to let the sound and feeling of completion carry you into the depth of slumber, where creation continues unceasingly. Living in the end while sleeping requires a radical shift in perspective. Most people go to bed rehearsing the present or reliving the past. They lie awake thinking about what went wrong in the day, who hurt them, what they lack, what they fear. They are prisoners of memory, chained to the visible facts of the present moment. But to live in the end is to break free from that prison. It is to declare that your life is not dictated by what has been, nor by what is, but by what you choose to accept as already done. If you desire healing, then in the moments before sleep, you do not think of yourself as sick hoping to become well. You feel yourself whole, vibrant, and strong. If you desire financial abundance, you do not focus on unpaid bills or empty accounts. You rest in the feeling of being already supplied, already free, already abundant. If you long for love, you do not dwell in loneliness. You feel the warmth of companionship, the joy of being cherished, the peace of union. And as you enter sleep with these feelings, you are living in the end. You are no longer waiting. You are already there. Consider sleep as the rehearsal room of reality. The outer world is but the stage, but it is in the inner rehearsal that the play is decided. When an actor prepares for a role, he does not wait until opening night to imagine himself as the character. He practices, he feels, he rehearses until the role becomes second nature. In the same way, to live in the end is to rehearse the role of your fulfilled self until it becomes your natural state. Sleep is the perfect stage for this rehearsal, because the conscious mind, with all its doubts and arguments, grows quiet. The subconscious, ever obedient, receives the impressions without resistance. The more vividly you live in the end during those moments before sleep, the more surely the subconscious accepts it as truth, and the more powerfully it manifests in your waking life. This is why it is said that you must not go to sleep in the consciousness of being defeated, lacking, or afraid, for whatever state you fall asleep in is the state you will carry into your subconscious, and from there it will project into your world. The last thought, the last feeling, the last image before sleep is not just a fleeting moment. It is the seed of tomorrow. Living in the end means choosing this seed carefully, tending to it with faith, and allowing it to take root in the fertile soil of the night. So when you keep a prayer playing while you sleep, you are not merely hearing words. You are clothing your subconscious with the feeling of completion, letting the repetition of truth anchor you in the end until it becomes natural, effortless, unquestioned. The power of living in the end lies in its simplicity. You are not striving to make something happen. You are simply resting in the awareness that it already has. Imagine a woman who desires to be a mother. If she lives in the end, she does not go to bed crying over the emptiness of her arms. Instead, she falls asleep with the feeling of holding her child, the joy of hearing laughter in her home, the peace of already being what she desires to be. The subconscious, ever faithful, takes this impression and brings about the circumstances to fulfill it. Or imagine a man longing for success in his work. If he lives in the end, he does not fall asleep worrying about rejection or failure. Instead, he drifts into slumber with the thrill of accomplishment, the gratitude of achievement, the relief of having already succeeded. This is not fantasy. It is prayer, and prayer in this form is always answered, because the subconscious is compelled to manifest the state it has received. Some may say, but what if I cannot feel it strongly? What if my outer world screams the opposite? The answer is persistence. Living in the end is not about forcing yourself to feel perfectly at once. It is about consistently choosing to dwell in the state of completion until it takes root. Even if at first it feels like pretending, continue. Pretending in faith is not deception. It is the doorway to creation. A child playing with a toy crown does not question whether she is queen. In her play, she lives in the end. And in the same way, your choice to dwell in the fulfilled state, especially as you drift into sleep, is not denial but creation. What you live inwardly must one day be expressed outwardly. When you live in the end while sleeping, you are not asking God to someday answer. You are agreeing with God that it is already done. You are aligning with the eternal truth that every promise is already complete in the unseen, awaiting only your acceptance. This is why it is so powerful to let a prayer, an affirmation, or a scripture play in the background as you sleep. The conscious mind may resist during the day, but in sleep it cannot argue. The words slip into the subconscious unhindered, weaving themselves into the fabric of your being, and because you have chosen the end, the subconscious takes it as reality. Living in the end while sleeping also transforms the quality of your rest. Instead of tossing and turning in worry, you surrender in peace. Instead of dreams filled with chaos, you experience visions of fulfillment. And when you awaken, you do so not in dread of the day, but in expectation of good, because you know you have already secured it in the night. This is the true rest of faith, not merely physical rest, but the deep rest of knowing it is done. So tonight, beloved, do not go to bed as a beggar, pleading for what you lack. Go to bed as a creator, living in the end of your fulfilled desire. Let the words of prayer, the sounds of truth, and the images of imagination carry you across the threshold of sleep. Feel yourself already there. Rejoice as if it were already yours. Walk into slumber with the crown already on your head. Victory already won, the desire already fulfilled. For the subconscious, which never sleeps, will take that end and shape the path to bring it forth. And when you awaken, you will rise into a world already bending to match your inner state. Living in the end while sleeping is not mere theory. It is the very practice that transforms lives. It is the mystery by which the unseen becomes seen, the intangible becomes tangible, the prayer becomes reality. Embrace it tonight, rest in it, trust it. For what you live in the silence of night, you will live in the brightness of day. Imagination as the true sanctuary of prayer has long been misunderstood as the act of repeating words, reciting verses, or speaking aloud to some distant deity in the sky, hoping that one day the cry of the heart will be heard. But prayer, in its deepest essence, is not merely words spoken. It is imagination felt. It is not the sound of lips moving, but the inner vision clothed in emotion. Imagination is the true sanctuary of prayer, the inner temple where communion with God takes place, the holy ground where creation is conceived. When you pray, you are not calling out into the void, you are shaping reality with the images and feelings you accept as true within yourself. This is why imagination is not child's play, it is divine play. It is the power by which the unseen becomes seen, the formless becomes form, and the desire of the heart becomes the reality of life. And when you lie down Sleep, the sanctuary of imagination, becomes even more sacred, for it is here that the subconscious is most open, most receptive, most ready to accept the offerings you bring into its chamber. If imagination is the sanctuary, then the feeling of the wish fulfilled is the prayer offered upon it. Altar, words alone mean little without the feeling that gives them life. You may repeat, I am healed, I am blessed, I am free, but if your imagination paints only sickness, lack, and bondage, then those words will fall empty. Yet if you close your eyes and allow your inner sight to see yourself walking in health, to hear yourself rejoicing in blessing, to feel yourself moving in freedom, then the words are clothed with spirit and power. This is true prayer, when the inner vision and inner feeling align as one, and because imagination is limitless, there is no boundary to what you may pray. For if you can see it within, if you can feel it as real, you can bring it into being. For the unseen world of imagination is the seedbed of all that is seen. Think for a moment, everything you see in this world existed first in imagination. The homes you live in, the clothes you wear, the devices you hold, all were once unseen pictures in someone's inner sanctuary. They dared to imagine it real before it was ever constructed in form. The same law applies to the invisible desires of your heart. The love you seek, the health you long for, the abundance you dream of, all must first be conceived in imagination before they can appear in your experience. Imagination is not a substitute for reality. It is the origin of reality. It is not escapism, it is creation. And when you enter into sleep, imagination takes on its highest form of prayer, because the conscious resistance fades away, and subconscious, the eternal builder, accepts the images you give it without question. When you keep a prayer playing while you sleep, understand that the true power is not in the sound of the words, but in the pictures and feelings those words stir within. If a scripture plays that declares, you are more than a conqueror, and in imagination you see yourself overcoming every obstacle with strength, then you have entered the sanctuary of prayer. If an affirmation whispers, you are blessed and highly favored, and you allow yourself to feel the joy of living in abundance and divine favor, then you have placed your prayer upon the altar. The subconscious does not care about the sound alone. It responds to the vision, the feeling, the assumption impressed upon it. Words are only the vessel. Imagination is the true offering. Many people pray with their mouths, but cancel their prayer with their imagination. They say, I am healed, yet they see themselves weak. They declare, I am prosperous, yet they imagine the pain of bills unpaid. They affirm, I am loved, yet they dwell on loneliness. This is why their prayers feel unanswered, not because God has denied them, but because they have denied themselves by offering a divided prayer. A divided prayer is powerless. A unified prayer is irresistible. And unity in prayer means aligning words with imagination, aligning declaration with vision, aligning sound with feeling. When the two agree, the subconscious accepts without resistance, and manifestation becomes inevitable. To live in the sanctuary of imagination is to realize that you are never without a place to pray, never without an altar, never without access to God. You do not need a building, a ritual, or a ceremony to touch the divine. Close your eyes, breathe, and imagine, and you have entered the holiest place. You can, at any moment, see yourself in the state you desire, feel it as though it were already true, and commune with God in the silence of your own being. And when you practice this, especially before and during sleep, you consecrate your night to creation. Instead of drifting into unconsciousness with idle fears, you enter into rest with a holy vision. Instead of replaying the disappointments of the day, you play the scenes of tomorrow's fulfillment. Instead of rehearsing lack, you rehearse abundance, and the subconscious, the keeper of your destiny, accepts it all without question. Imagination is not mere fantasy. Fantasy is fleeting, but imagination clothed with feeling is creation. If you see yourself living in joy and feel the reality of it, you are planting the seed of joy in the subconscious. If you see yourself walking in health and feel the freedom of it, you are planting the seed of healing. If you see yourself surrounded by love and feel the warmth of it, you are planting the seed of companionship. And because the subconscious never sleeps, it will water those seeds through the night until they break through in your waking life. This is why you must be intentional with the pictures you paint before sleep. Every image is a prayer, every feeling a petition, every assumption an offering. Guard your sanctuary, for whatever you allow in imagination will manifest. Beloved, the sanctuary of imagination is not only a place of creation, but a place of peace. When you enter into it, you step out of the chaos of the world and into the stillness of divine possibility. You can leave behind the noise of doubt, the weight of fear, and the burden of lack, and clothe yourself in the beauty of completion. In imagination, you are free to be as you desire, to live as you long, to walk in the end already achieved. This is the safest place in the universe, for no outer circumstance can touch it, no opposition can invade it, no limitation can bind it, and what you consistently nurture in this sanctuary cannot be denied expression in your world, for the outer world is but a reflection of the inner temple, and the prayer offered in imagination must return as answered reality. So tonight, when you prepare for sleep, do not merely whisper empty words. Enter the sanctuary of imagination. See yourself already where you desire to be. Feel the joy of it, the peace of it, the relief of it. Let your imagination construct the scene as though it were happening now, and rest in that vision until it feels natural. As you drift into sleep, keep that prayer alive, through sound, through feeling, through vision. Let the subconscious carry it through the night, weaving it into the tapestry of your destiny, and when you awaken, you will find the world beginning to shift, circumstances rearranging, opportunities unfolding, all in alignment with the vision you carried into the sanctuary. Imagination is the true sanctuary of prayer. Words may fade, but vision endures. Outer forms may change, but inner pictures remain. Guard it, honor it, use it, for what you imagine with faith becomes what you live with certainty. And when you learn to rest in imagination as you sleep, you will find that the night itself becomes holy ground, and every morning becomes the unveiling of answered prayer. Sleep, as the gateway to creation, sleep is far more than a natural rhythm of rest given to the body. It is the most sacred passageway between the seen and unseen, the narrow door through which creation flows. The world thinks of sleep only as a biological necessity, a time when the body repairs itself and the mind resets, but those who understand the mysteries of life know that sleep is the true gateway to creation. It is in sleep that the conscious mind surrenders its control, and the subconscious, eternal servant, the womb of reality, takes command. And because the subconscious never sleeps, what you impress upon it in the final moments before slumber becomes the seed that will grow into tomorrow's experience. Every night, without fail, you pass through this gateway. The only question is, what are you carrying with you as you enter? If you bring worry, fear, or regret, then those are the seeds you plant. If you bring faith, gratitude, and the assumption of your fulfilled desire, then you walk through the gateway carrying life, and life will surely spring forth. To understand sleep as the gateway to creation is to realize that the most important part of your day is not the hours of action, but the final moments before rest. The outer world is shaped in the inner world, and the inner world is most powerfully impressed upon during the threshold of sleep. As you drift between wakefulness and unconsciousness, you are in the most fertile state of being, the twilight state where imagination has the greatest access to the subconscious. This is why the moments before sleep are holy. They are not idle minutes to waste on random thoughts or idle distractions. They are the sacred time to deliberately impress upon the subconscious the reality you choose to live. The thoughts, images, and feelings you carry into sleep are not forgotten. They are magnified, amplified, and manifested. Sleep is not escape. Sleep is creation. Think of sleep as the soil, and your final thoughts as the seeds. The soil does not judge what is planted. It simply brings forth what it has received. If you plant weeds, it will grow weeds. If you plant roses, it will grow roses. The subconscious does not question or argue. It only accepts and multiplies. And because the gateway of sleep opens every night, you are given a fresh opportunity daily to sow wisely. Imagine the transformation if you were to use every night as an act of creation. Instead of allowing fear to lull you into slumber, you let gratitude and faith carry you across the threshold. Instead of rehashing the pain of the day, you rehearse the joy of tomorrow. Instead of entertaining lack, you embody abundance. With persistence, the subconscious would take these seeds and build them into your waking life with mathematical certainty. This is why it is powerful to keep a prayer playing while you sleep, not because the sound itself is magical, but because it continues to guide your subconscious through the gateway of night. The repetition of truth, the vibration of affirmation, the steady reminder of God's promises, all serve as steady companions as you pass into sleep. They keep your spirit aligned with faith instead of fear, with vision instead of doubt, with fulfillment instead of lack. and as the words flow, they anchor your imagination in the end you desire, ensuring that the subconscious carries only that reality into creation. The body may rest, the conscious mind may forget, but the subconscious, ever awake, continues the work through the night. Consider the miracle of dreams. Dreams are not random accidents of the brain, but reflections of what the subconscious is processing. They reveal the images and feelings you have impressed upon it, and they often hint at the creations forming beneath the surface. If your dreams are filled with fear, it is because you have sown fear before the gateway. If they are filled with joy and fulfillment, it is because you have sown faith. Dreams are the whispers of creation in motion, the shadows of the form before it is revealed. And while you cannot always control every dream, you can control the state in which you enter sleep. The state you choose becomes the blueprint for the subconscious to follow. Living with the awareness that sleep is the gateway to creation changes how you approach the end of each day. No longer do you lie down, casually weighed with the burdens of the moment. You approach your bed as you would an altar. You do not carry the dust of fear into this sanctuary. You wash yourself with prayer. You clothe yourself in gratitude. You anoint yourself with faith. You prepare to step into the holy chamber of creation. As your eyes close, you imagine yourself already living in the fulfillment of your desire. You feel the reality of it, rejoice in the truth of it, and surrender into the sleep of faith. This is the true use of the gateway. And when you awaken, you will find your world bending to meet the state you carried across the threshold. Beloved, understand that this is not imagination in the sense of escape. It is imagination as creation. The outer world is always following the inner world, whether you are aware of it or not. If you do not deliberately plant seeds at the gateway of sleep, weeds of the day will plant themselves. Your worries will follow you into the night, and the subconscious will accept them as instructions. This is why so many awaken in heaviness, carrying yesterday into today, trapped in cycles of fear and lack. But if you choose to honor sleep as creation, you break that cycle. Each night becomes a new beginning, each sleep a new creation, each awakening a new birth. Think of the farmer who plants his seeds. He does not beg the soil to bring forth a harvest. He trusts the process. He knows that once the seed is sown, the earth will do its part. In same way, once you impress your desire upon the subconscious before sleep, you do not need to force or strive. You rest, you trust, you allow, for the work is not yours. It is the work of the subconscious, and it never fails to bring forth what has been planted. Sleep, then, becomes the act of surrender, the rest of faith, the confident yielding that says it is done. So tonight, when you prepare to close your eyes, do not waste the gateway. Enter it with intention. Let your final thoughts be prayers of completion. Let your imagination clothe you in the reality you desire. Feel it real, let it sink into your being, and then sleep in peace. If you choose, keep the sound of prayer playing in the background, so that even as you drift beyond awareness, the subconscious continues to be nourished. Do not carry fear into the night. Carry faith. Do not carry lack. Carry abundance. Not carry loneliness, carry love, for what you carry into sleep will meet you again in the morning, not as a thought, but as reality. Sleep is the gateway to creation. It is the holy passage where you step into the unseen and leave behind the seeds that must return as form. Guard this passage with reverence, use it with wisdom, and honor it with faith. For every night you pass through it, and every morning you awaken to the harvest of what you planted. Let your nights be filled with holy visions, and your days will be filled with holy manifestations. Rest in this truth, beloved. Sleep is not the end of the day, it is the beginning of creation.